just about all of us have become somewhat tone deaf to firearm marketing these days. Most of us believe that we've kind of reached the point with hunting rifles where everything that can be done or to a rifle has basically already been done. Companies are simply adding trendy aesthetics to rifles and kind of rebranding cartridges that already exist. So we have to ask the question, have we reached the peak of firearm development? In order to answer that question, we have to look at past major innovations in firearm development and compare that to modern times. The first really major world-changing innovation with firearms was the wheel lock, which meant that you no longer had to keep a wick lit. Then came the invention of the flintlock, which pretty much revolutionized gun design and ruled for 2 centuries. Then the Minet ball was invented, or for you guys in the southern United States, the mini ball. Although rifling was invented about 300 years before the Minet ball came out, a barrel really couldn't take advantage of rifling until the Minet ball was invented. After that, the use of rifling became widespread extremely fast, and for the first time in history, guns were actually accurate. Then firearms were completely reinvented again when the pin-fired cartridge became widely used, and even today we use those cartridges. Then repeating rifles flooded the market and changed warfare and hunting and everything else forever. From the Spencer rifle to the Gatling gun to the Winchester to the Mauser, repeating rifles were the future. Then came smokeless powder, which was a huge revolution in the firearm world, which not only brought reliability to ammunition, but also made ammunition more effective and efficient. We still use smokeless powder today, almost in the same form it was used over 100 years ago. Concurrently with the adoption of smokeless powder, we also started using jacketed and Spitzer bullets, which is also what we still use today. Then, of course, came a slew of automatic and semi-automatic rifles and shotguns. So from a hunter's perspective, knowing the history of innovation with small arms, you have to ask yourself, is an off-the-shelf rifle today more accurate than a Model 70 made in 1955? Does a rifle made today have a better trigger than the old Model 70 did? And the answer is really no. Rifles and cartridges are pretty much the same today as they were 120 years ago. There were some periods with advancements in bullet development, and I'll concede that. In the 1980s, for instance, bonded and monolithic bullets really changed the hunting scene. And also in the late 90s, early 2000s, we stopped designing bullets like they were made for military artillery and started looking at bullets like a center fire rifle bullet, like it should be. And that started the age of long-range, high BC bullets. But pretty much in the last 100 years, all we've really done is add optics, synthetic stocks, better recoil pads, slightly better metallurgy, and cheaper production processes to the rifle. And that's pretty much it. Guys in the 1950s were shooting quarter-inch groups with over-the-counter Winchester rifles. In 1970, bench rest shooters were shooting groups in the tens of thousands of an inch. And today, over 50 years later, they're still shooting those same groups. So are guns really better today? So I think the truth is, if you compare similar optics and stock mounting techniques, the truth is that guns made today really aren't better than guns that were made in the past. Even bullet design kind of hit a dead end in development about 20 years ago too. Today's so-called ammunition advancements are just pretty much changing the twist rates of existing cartridges. Today's so-called rifle advancements are just the addition of trendy and aesthetically pleasing features to the rifle. Where there have been advancements, though, is in support gear for the shooter that wants to shoot at longer ranges. You know, laser rangefinders were a major game changer, and now everything is a known distance. And that wasn't always the case. Modern ballistic programs also made it easy for anyone to figure out the behavior of their loads. Today, shooters have smartphones that tie in with wind meters and rangefinders and automatically calculate elevation and atmospheric conditions into a ballistic solution for you. You know, rifle scopes are also clearer and more precise than they've ever been. And now, you know, we're realizing that fully digitized scopes are the future. So the reality is that the rifle has remained unchanged basically for the last 120 years. The only real advancements have been technologically more advanced support gear and optics for the shooter. Today, the military and some civilian companies are trying to evolve shooting by producing cartridges capable of extremely high pressures. And, you know, of course, new rifles that can handle those high pressures. But in the end, they're just trying to get standard performance with a shorter barrel. That's all they're trying to do. So it isn't really a major innovation in my mind. The last major advancement in firearms was pretty much smokeless powder in 1884. And I think that that's where the next revolution in firearms will probably be. We'll eventually find something to replace smokeless powder as a propellant, you know, which is still the weakness of the modern cartridge. How long that'll take? Nobody knows. I mean, 70 years ago, they thought we'd all be flying around in Jetson-style hovering cars and probably hunting and shooting with laser guns by now. But of course, that didn't happen. Well, I hope you enjoyed this short commentary about the state of firearms development. Thank you for watching, and as always, good hunting.